Have you ever had a gut feeling and you say, I know the reason. I know why this is happening in my organization. But you know what? Sometimes the reason isn't the real reason. Wake up, leaders. This is Glenn Guyton, your cultural futurist and keynote speaker, helping you to unlock the power of your people. It is time for our executive coffee break. I hope you have a good beverage in hand. You know, they say you can't choose your family, but you can choose your workplace culture and your beverage, of course, so choose wisely. My goal is to equip you with effective strategies to foster a culture of innovation, reduce workplace stress, and elevate team performance. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. I don't know if you're familiar with the group New Edition, but they had a song called If It Isn't Love. And the song was, if it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Why does she stay on my mind? And so as they sang the song, they were like, these feelings have to be attributed to love. You know, why is this person on my mind? Why am I so sick inside? But you know what? Maybe it was just childhood infatuation. Maybe it wasn't really love. And that's the question. Sometimes we think we know the answer to the question, and people often will give us an answer as leaders, but the real reason often isn't the reason that we have been given. Now, I've worked with a number of organizations that have gone through times of turbulence, you know, ups and downs, and people leaving the organization, people coming into the organization. And many times there were one or two reasons given for people being upset or people leaving the organization. And the answer seems simple enough. But if you start to dig down a little bit to get beyond the surface, there are some other things at play often when people are unhappy with organizations, or when there's a cultural shift in an organization. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and people say, well, I'm upset. I just don't like the new policy, whatever policy is. I don't like policy A, and so I'm leaving. And so as leaders, what we do, we say, okay, well, we need to fix policy A. We either need to go back to our old policy, but policy A is really the reason, because that's the reason that's cited when people start to walk out of the door, or when people complain about the changes that are happening in an organization, the cultural shifts. So this is when it is really important for you as a leader to start getting some good data, to start asking the right questions, to figure out what the real reason is. Because policy A might just be where everyone is pointing their attention, but it may not be the real problem. Maybe the problem is that as time has gone on, maybe demographics have shifted in your organization. And so the things that held policy A together, the extenuating circumstances or the outside forces that made policy A relevant, are no longer there. And so if you continue to use policy A, it wouldn't be effective anyway. But no one is talking about the outside forces that have necessitated the change for policy A. They're focused on policy A. And so we, as leaders, have to kind of dig a little bit deeper. And this is also part of the work that I do as a cultural futurist, is looking kind of behind the scenes, kind of thinking about the future and seeing what factors are coming into play that makes change necessary, or actually foretell the change. Now, the other part of it is, if people are so locked in on policy A, what else has changed? What else has changed in the organization outside of policy A? Well, one of the things that we fail to do is to look at other organizations, other similar organizations. What's going on with them? Imagine if you are in the book publishing company and your workers are so upset about all of the changes that you've had to make as a bookseller to stay competitive. And they're really blaming you, they're blaming internal policies. But if you look around, Amazon changed the game, right? Amazon changed the game. business of selling books is much different in 2024 than it was in 1990. And some of those workers have been around since 1990. They've seen some of the ups and downs, and they're used to doing things a certain way. They're used to selling a number of products, and they're used to selling products in a certain way. But now, as a publisher, you're selling those books where? On Amazon. And so it's fundamentally changed the business. But your employees, your workers, they aren't concerned about what's going on at Amazon. They're worried about what's going on in your company. And so you're trying to fix things and fix things and fix things and smooth over relationships. And the problem isn't you. The problem is that the industry has significantly changed, and you have to change with it. So what do you do about that? Well, part of it, you really have to educate people. Communicate, educate, and help people to understand the bigger picture. Many times as leaders, we get so instantly focused on what's going on inside that we ignore all of the external factors that are going on. Now, as we think about changing demographics, which impacts us all, we live in a more global economy. We have growing industries. There's more of a demand for workers. And so how are we going to fill that gap? Where are we going to get workers from? People have already migrated to population centers. Your organization is in a population center. And so how are you going to fill up that funnel of workers, employees to get the help that you need? Well, you're going to have to turn to new people. And also, if you think about changing demographics, new people are moving into the area that you recruit from. And so the workers in your organization are going to look different. And people may accuse you of being woke, or accuse you of ignoring the former demographic that was the dominant culture at the time, and bringing in these new people. And why are you doing that? You're doing it because you need to survive as a business. You're doing it because the pool of people that you actually have to pull from has changed. The pool has changed. So imagine if you are a farmer. I'm going to use a farmer analogy. Imagine if you are a farmer, and the ground that you plant only takes corn, right? It only takes corn. You can only grow corn. So for years in this neighborhood, all that you could grow was corn. And you say, okay, so everybody's used to corn. We eat corn on the cob. It's kind of like that Forrest Gump thing. We're going to eat corn on the cob, buffalo shrimp, not buffalo shrimp, but buffalo corn, fried corn, cream corn, popcorn. You just have a corn smorgasbord going on in your community. Now, imagine you have the opportunity to grow another product. Why? Because maybe corn isn't thriving as much. The climate has changed, and so we can't grow corn. So we're going to grow beans. Now we're growing beans. And so, as you start to grow beans seem to be a little bit more flexible. You're growing more and more beans. And so you start incorporating those beans into your diet because there's less corn and more beans. That's the options that you have. You can either let your people starve because corn isn't thriving as much. There's less corn. Maybe corn has undergone some kind of corn crisis. I don't know. But now you're growing beans, and beans seem to be doing pretty well. So you start to replace your corn with beans. It's not about some strategic plan to eradicate corn. This new pool of beans is what I have to pull from. And so those changes are hard for people. And you really have to help people understand why the shifts are happening in your organization. What are the external factors that are coming into play? And we often don't do a good job of that because we just try to preserve what was. We don't really help people look toward the future, or even realistically evaluate what's going on in the current environment. And so that's your role as a leader, is to help people understand why the changes are happening. Don't get defensive. Don't say, well, because we this is the way we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to change this policy. No, why are you changing these policies? Why are you changing your hiring practices? What factors have precipitated this? Communication is key in the workplace, especially when people are uncertain. And one thing I will say as I get ready to wrap this up is that, really give people the benefit of the doubt. Try to think the best about people and try to frame your reasons why in the positive. These are the things that are changing. This is how you can come along on this change journey. One of the hardest things to do is to get people to shift, to move, to expand their horizons. We're so locked in the things that we want to do. We're so locked in our own internal mind view, our own internal baggage, that it's hard for us to see outside of ourselves. And as a leader, that's part of your responsibility. That's part of the role that you have, is to help people see what's next, to guide them and bring them along at a pace that pushes them, but doesn't destroy them. Well, I hope that's helpful for some of you all that are going through change processes, of going through mergers, or who are implementing new policies. Make sure you're communicating with your people, frame these things in the positive, and make sure you get beyond the surface clutter. Dive down a little bit deeper and figure out what's really going on in the organization, and help your people to see that too. All right. Well, thank you. And let's not forget that better leaders get better results. So to every one of you leading the charge for a more supportive and engaging workplace, I leave you with this: stay bold, stay inspired, and remember that your actions today shape the culture of tomorrow. My name is Glenn Guyton. You all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.